It's a wet and wild one here in downtown Providence, but want to welcome my first guest, DeJesus with Special Olympics of Rhode Island. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Kate. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a big year for Special Olympics. How long have you been planning for this 50th anniversary year?
1968 to 2018, 50 years. And we've been planning this a good year in advance, and all of a sudden it's kind of snuck up on us, and we're ready for June 1st down at the Ryan Center, URI.
So June 1st at the Ryan Center, tell Rhode Islanders how this year is going to maybe be a little more. Every year is fantastic. Every year is a celebration. But how is the 50th going to be just this monumental celebration?
Well, we wanted to do something very, very special for our athletes. And so we wanted to move indoors. Usually opening ceremonies is outdoors on the football field. This year we're bringing it indoors to take the weather out of the equation. And we're going to have a great opening ceremony. It's proud to announce that Tim Shriver, the CEO of Special Olympics International, will be joining us for opening ceremonies. We want to keep the speaking program as short as possible because we have a special guest who's going to entertain us the last hour or so, and that's Rhode Island's very own Billy Gilman.
Billy Gilman, we've had him on GoLocal Live before. How fantastic, a celebration of Rhode Island and Rhode Island athletes. So talk with us about your involvement with Special Olympics and kind of how things have changed and maybe how things stay the same.
Boy, in 50 years, how far we've come. 50 years ago was the age of institutions, segregation in our schools. We've seen a lot of progress over the years. Our athletes are now proud members of our community. They're active in their schools. They're out working. They're out being really contributing members of society today. And that wasn't so back in 1968. So we see a tremendous amount of progress in nothing but a bright future. We sit in the office, we talk about this all the time. What's the next 50 years going to bring? So a celebration of acceptance, inclusion, and respect. And I hope Rhode Islanders will embrace the inclusion revolution as we move forward in the next 50 years of Special Olympics Rhode Island.
And how about, let's veer off a little bit, those inclusion teams we hear about at the high schools. How important has this been throughout the year?
10 years ago, 2010, we started a program called Project Unify, now called Unified Champion Schools. We put 10 high school basketball teams on the court in the spring of 2010. Proud to say today we have 70 high schools and middle schools participating in Unified Champion Schools. How has it changed? It's changed school cultures, not only for the athletes, for the partners, for the teachers, for the staff, for the administrators. Our athletes, for the first time, are wearing their school colors proudly. They never had that opportunity before. So again, a lot about integration, about mainstreaming, about getting athletes and students more actively involved. And just was down in Westerly today for a flag football game between Westerly High School and Charahoe High School.
Outside in this weather?
Yeah, outside it was sunny, and then all of a sudden the clouds opened up. But that didn't dampen the spirit of the competition. And so we're seeing some great things happening in all of our schools throughout the state of Rhode Island.
So we see Special Olympics, we see the coverage here, we see the athletes, we see the pictures, but talk with us about the nuts and bolts of the Special Olympics experience. When athletes and their families and their supporters go, duration of the celebration and the sports they participate in. Talk a little bit about what the Special Olympics experience is.
You know, people often say to us, I know what you do at Special Olympics. You guys run the summer games down at URI, and I have to stop them and say, we're busy January through December, 25 sports year-round, 3,500 athletes in our program, Westerly to Woonsocket, East Bay to West Bay. Every community has athletes in our program. And you know, the true champions and the true heroes are our families, are our coaches, our volunteers. We have a staff of 10. We host 1,400 sporting events a year.
Wow.
And we need volunteers to pull that off. Those are the unsung heroes, our donors, our sponsors who make it all possible. No athlete pays to participate in Special Olympics Rhode Island, and we're so proud of that. So our donors, and it's a great community. Rhode Island is a very, very giving community, and we see that each and every day because of their support of our athletes.
So the countdown's on to the Kickoff Celebration at URI. What do the next few weeks have in store getting ready for the big day?
Craziness. That's the word that we use in the office today. It's crazy, and you know, but it's all so exciting. And when we have our meetings, you know, the meetings, it's not a sense of dread, it's a sense of excitement and anticipation, knowing that our athletes are going to march into the Ryan Center full of energy, full of enthusiasm, a great opening ceremonies, an address by Tim Shriver, and then the performer that the athletes wanted to see. We went to our athlete leadership council. Who would you like to see perform? And to every person it was, we want to see Billy Gilman.
Billy Gilman, again, fantastic Rhode Islander for this big 50th year. And as you said, how far it's come in the last 50 years. But, you know, let's talk again, you know, the big 50, is there a big closing ceremony?
Well, we're going to have in October a gala. We're going to call it the 50th Anniversary Golden Gala at the Rhodes on the Patuxent. And we're going to be reaching out to local business leaders, to individuals to help support the event by buying a table, not for them, to send athletes. So athletes who cannot afford the opportunity to come and have a night like that, we're asking our small business community, our you know, large business corporations, foundations, individuals, buy a table and you can give 10 athletes the night of their life.
That's wonderful. So extending that 50th anniversary celebration from the summertime to the fall, and then moving on towards the future.
Right.
What's next? I mean, you do so much, and you mentioned again, what was it, 1,400 events a year, and you talk about a staff of 10. You must be sort of maxed out, and it's really kind of depending on volunteers to really help make these things happen.
Absolutely. You know, physical fitness, nutrition, making sure our athletes, improving the quality of life for those that we serve. And then down the road, the biggest hurdle that's left out there, and it's a truly big hurdle, is employment.
Okay.
Trying to find jobs for our athletes nationwide. About 80% of those with intellectual disabilities cannot find jobs. And they want to work. They want to get out into the community. They want to work. They want to get a paycheck. That's the next big hurdle, I think, for the athletes of Special Olympics Rhode Island, and we're going to be there to help them along that way.
Fantastic. Are there resources out there now, or as you said, it's tough when there's 80% that want to work? Clearly there's not enough. There needs to be more.
There needs to be more. You know, we get, it's a tough balance because we've had companies approach us and my board will say to me, gee, we're not in the jobs business. We're not in the jobs field. And yet, we know there's a need out there, and we're trying to collaborate with companies like CVS, Navigant, other big companies that are out there that who have come to us and expressed an interest in hiring our athletes. And I think that's the next big hurdle down the road.
The big hurdle, of course, you'd be using a sports analogy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But the Special Olympics 50th anniversary. Any particular shout outs you want to give to folks while you're here in the studio, the staff, the volunteers, the families, the athletes?
You know, the shout out goes to the athletes because when they show up at an event, they inspire you. They lift you off the ground 10 feet high. They greet you with a smile and a hug. They have no boundaries, no barriers. And they're the ones who make this organization really fly. And when given the opportunity, they always exceed expectations.
Well, look forward to seeing the Special Olympics this summer, 50th anniversary. And Dennis DeJesus, I appreciate your taking the time to come in today.
Thanks, Kate, so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with our next guest here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center.